Hi there, welcome to Casper Wyckoff Technical Analysis session. So Casper has been trading within a very narrow range. So if we look at this chart, we can tell it's getting very near to the inflection point or the ignition point of its rocket launch. So these are rainbow key levels if you're new to my sessions. Basically, the price is trading along this red key level of 1 cent. So let's dig deeper and see what's going on. So last session I've already drawn these trend lines over here. So let me enlarge, switch it off. I just want to allow people watching on mobile to see clearer what's happening. So this right over here, we see a shrinking situation. So meaning the price range has been narrower and narrower and narrower. So we talked about this point around October 20th that, before that time, before that date, a breakout will eventually happen. So the wishful thinking is combining this wedge and the Wyckoff's accumulation cycle plus Bollinger Band Keltner squeeze. We see a squeeze is happening, and that it's at the mid-late stage of the Wyckoff accumulation cycle. In addition to the wedge we already talked about, it seems like a big price move is on the build-up, actually near its end already, this build-up, and a big price swing will happen. The first point we hope it to happen is to challenge, basically go past the orange key level of 1 cent 60, challenge the 2 cents 40, and probably like go above it as well, much like what happened back in November last year for the automatic rally, and April-May time for the sign of strength. So this time, this second sign of strength, hopefully, I call it sign of strength for the time being, because once it gets past the yellow key level, it may retreat and do some horizontal trading before it goes up again. So it can come up, do some horizontal trading, and then goes up to the distribution cycle. That's one way that it can happen. Or the other way is, once it started, it doesn't even show us a sign of strength, goes straight into the distribution cycle. So that's scenario 2. However, there's still downside risk. This is not 100%. I would say this is more like 80%. There's still 20% chance that it comes back down for prolonged accumulation. That can totally happen, but when I look at the charts now, it seems like it's less likely. Hopefully that's the case. So if it really goes to the upside, I already mentioned, it may not exhibit a sign of strength at all and just go straight into the distribution cycle. So I'll put this tag over here now. So when it happens, we'll see exactly what plays out. So I'm putting the buying climax over here, reason being it should come to above the purple key level of 5 cents 60 and this center line of the long-term playground zone at around 6 cents 20. The reason I hope it's going to get there is because that's where the previous buying climax was. So we definitely wanted to, sorry about this, let me just quickly adjust this. Yeah, now it's level. So this center line over here, we just want this cycle to go to the center line level so that it reads in a way that the long-term, even for speculation, long-term speculative value or long-term value of Casper is pretty much the same instead of declining. So if it really declines, there's already a sign for the past two peaks. If I change it to a dashed line, I can keep this white and just visible on this level. So what I'm trying to point out is, we see these two buying climaxes, right? The wicks of them is basically the declining peaks situation. So if this time the price really goes into a distribution cycle, and however the buying climax only ends up between the green key level of 3 cents and the light blue key level of 4 cents, that means it's following a declining long-term value path, and that's not healthy if you're trying to be a diamond hand for Casper, or like try to be a long-term holder for Casper. So let's hope for the price to show up here. At least for the long run, it still has its value. So we have combined these three. Look at the big picture. Let's get to the daily. Once again, let's switch on auto so you can see clearly on your mobile. We already talked about this intermediate resistance. Let me extend this. Currently, the price in the weekly chart is still within what I call spring. So it's like what happened back in April. So not too far from now. It's only about 4 months ago, 5 months ago, that we got a spring before the price shot to the buying climax in mid-May. So hopefully this time is the same. After the spring, the price breaks out and shoots up to the buying climax, and hopefully this time it's going to challenge somewhere high. I'm not going to repeat the story or reason why. You already heard it enough in the past 3 minutes. So after the spring, let's see whether there will be a sign of strength that's going to show up, and then eventually back up last point of support period, eventually goes to the preliminary supply and the buying climax. So it can happen in a way like this, and then some horizontal trading, and then boom, that's where the distribution cycle peak is going to go. That's one possible scenario that can play out. The timeline is, I'm trying to readjust the line so it gets tighter to touch the wicks, and bottom edge need to be adjusted as well. I need to move across this so I can see the wick clearly. It looks like there's still some room before the actual breakout happens. So the lines are pointing towards early November. So really don't take that date plainly, because I explained many times. The price won't always get to the very tip before it excuse me, it breaks out. It can happen much sooner, and we have already entered the launch zone. So meaning anytime from now till early November, this breakout can happen. If the price continues to trade between the orange, actually not orange, this light blue line from the bottom and the red line, eventually it will reach this point to break out. That's November. However, if the price comes up and trade within this triangle formed by the top blue line and this red key level, the breakout time will be shorter. So by the 3rd week of October, the breakout will happen. So it's just a matter whether it's going to break to the upside. Hopefully it is. The possibility would be higher to the upside. To the downside, while it's still possible, I think I already give it 80-20, right? Yeah, so 20% to come down for another test, and basically 80% to either this backup or last point of support or the SOS. It doesn't matter. We know that means it's going to go up. So again, very close. In around 5 weeks time, that's going to happen. I mean, latest. That's the latest days that it has to break out if it's trading above the red key level. If it's trading below the red key level like what it is now, then it's got more time to play around till early November. So it's only 2 weeks longer if it stays below right here. So still, we're very close. So that's Casper in total, both macro and micro time frame. Thanks for joining me. Yeah, I know some people say it's flat like a table, like many other coins, but if we zoom in, there are actually quite a bit of activities going on even after the drop all the way to this low in 2022. So let's see whether that's the case, whether this is actually an accumulation cycle heading towards a distribution cycle instead of like it's going to die flat. So again, it's a possibility, but for now, let's see whether it's really 80% happening in a few weeks time. Thanks for joining me. See you in tomorrow.